Hi there, it's Chuck from Above the Basement, Boston Music and Conversation. Here is a short live interview that we did on 91.5 WFMO radio with Anngelle Wood from Boston Missions. This is her first stint for On the Town with Mikey D, a show that was started 30 years ago. Sadly, Mike passed in 2003, but the show continues in Mikey D's name, broadcasting On the Town every Wednesday night from 9 p.m. to midnight on Tufts University's WFMO 91.5 FM. You can also hear it streaming at WFMO.org. Being on the other side of an interview reminds me of the movie The Jerk with Steve Martin, when Navin Johnson worked at a carnival guessing people's weight, and a daredevil biker named Patty Bernstein says she would like to guess his weight, and he says, hey, that would be interesting for me. No one has tried to guess my weight, and this will give me a whole different perspective in this. Anyways, I digress. It was a lot of fun being on the other side of the mic. So, as we say, enjoy our conversation with Anngelle Wood, recorded and broadcast live on WFMO 91.5 FM for On the Town with Mikey D in Medford, Massachusetts.
It's the band Watts. Rock and roll, all done with rock and roll. We heard a whole ton of stuff in there. Justine and the Unclean, Sidewalk Driver, Test Meet, The Rationales, Walter Sickert and the Armored Broken Toys, Haley Jane and the Primates. Thanks in large part to Chuck and Ronnie, who are here from Above the Basement podcast, and you are handing me music because the digital system that I thought would be up and running is not. So we're a team tonight.
You're doing just fine.
We're a team tonight.
I love that.
So, and I haven't done that since college. Like go through CDs and pull out stuff I want people to hear.
And you have like 20 seconds left, and you're like,
fun.
this disc isn't working. Yeah, it's fun. That's what live radio is all about.
That's right.
And that's what's happening tonight.
It's happening.
So, my name is Anngelle Wood. I host a show called Boston Emissions. Been doing radio for a really long time. And I hosted this show for a period of time. And it's great to be back here. And part of the reason why I wanted to come and do On the Town there was an opening. Our dear Pam has moved north. And I thought, I have an idea. Let's do a show live, have a bunch of guests on, because I'm crazy like that, you guys. I'm crazy like that. When the summer sessions first started, when I would just have a bunch of bands on the show,
yeah,
and there would be like sometimes 20 people in the studio. So there's only 2 of you, so we have to fill it up.
Good. Should we start singing now?
Yeah, if you want. So, Above the Basement podcast started when?
2016. The idea was born, I guess, in late 2015, inspired by something that my friend here, Ronnie Hirschberg, he started a singer-songwriter series called the Deer Mountain, what's it called again?
Deer Mountain Songwriter Series.
Exactly what you said.
So that's
you were right.
He fills in the blanks for me that way. And so that entailed having local singer-songwriters go up, play some music. Ron had a separate band. Ron and I already are in a band called the Butler Frogs that we play together. That's how we know each other. But and you know, these musicians would go up, say a few words, and I thought, these musicians, they're doing a lot of different things other than music to try and make music their life, whether it be teaching or whatever it is. So it'd be interesting to get their stories. And so I decided to start a podcast. And Ron's smarter than me, so I wanted to have the brains.
Yeah, he also saw that the Deer Mountain Songwriter Series was briskly fading into existence, into non-existence.
That's right. You kind of faded it out, but it wasn't your fault. You did a nice job with it.
Thank you, Chuck.
Where was your series?
This was at Framingham at Amazing Things.
Okay.
And the Acton Jazz Cafe.
Was it jazz stuff or was it everything stuff?
No, there was some jazz, but there was a lot of rock, singer-songwriter, bluesy stuff. All, original stuff. And so we backed them. Yeah, Chuck played guitar on it.
Is that how the 2 of you met?
No, well, we met at an open mic and we started a band together. So he's our
We met at a bar in Concord, Massachusetts at Main Streets.
Yes.
I looked over at him. He was playing guitar.
Yeah, that's enough.
I brought my guitar and we we started hanging out.
made.
It was nice.
He's a good guitarist. She is. I mean, a piano player.
So fast forward, here we are 3 years later, 2.5 years later that you've been building
it's 3 years,
your digital library of interviews.
Right.
How many people have you spoken to?
Well, we have 139 episodes.
Wow.
We just talked to our good friends and yours, Circus Trees.
Nice.
They were awesome. We talked to them on Monday night. And so it's been, I mean, while we could say we've had 139 guests, it's been kind of more than that because sometimes we've had like 2 different people on at the same time.
Yeah, we try to publish every week though. Chuck does a stand up, bang up job. Does a lot of editing.
I do
every day.
Did you know how to edit? Did you have a little bit of audio prowess before this?
Tiny bit. I was in a band in New Jersey, and we kind of taught ourselves how to do Pro Tools. I was in a band called Northern Point, and so I knew a little bit about Pro Tools. When I started recording Above the Basement, we were using GarageBand, and the editing process for GarageBand is not great.
I've never attempted it. I know that it's sort of the go-to if you want
well, it's free. It's part of your, so that makes it great. And Pro Tools isn't inexpensive, but they. Thank you. Look, swag.
Oh, thanks, Joel.
Awesome.
Thank you.
And so I knew enough to edit it, and it's a podcast. You don't have to edit too much, but
unless I go on and I swear.
I kept all that in,
like a sailor.
I kept it in. Okay. It's all good. You're just explicit. It's all good. We're going to make a Circus
I swear
Trees.
A lot outside of my little radio world.
Circus Trees is going to be
Really?
It is. I was proud of them.
It was a little awkward.
The 7th grader. It wasn't awkward. No, they were awesome.
These are 3 sisters. They're 13, 15, and 17.
That's a cool story. I bet they have a cool story to tell.
And
very cool
their
story.
dad is there as their manager. They come from Marlborough, Massachusetts. They're just fantastic. They just have a soul about them, and they rock. They're good.
They're really good.
Yeah.
But that aside, so 139 episodes, and it's kind of morphed into us talking to singer-songwriter, local musicians. We've talked to, we've kind of expanded that. We've talked to the Chief of Arts and Culture, Cara Elliott Ortega. We've talked to Melanie Stasinski, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. She runs Zoomix. We've talked to wonderful DJs like yourself. So it's really kind of encompassing people who have risen above the hole in their basement to bring their art into the world, whatever that art may be.
Who are you most surprised that agreed to an interview? Because you've had some sort of highfalutin guests in there.
Yeah, so who are we most surprised?
Who are you most surprised that, I'll do that?
I would guess Jewel would be one.
Yeah, that was surprising.
But it was
the singer-songwriter Jewel.
Yeah, so if they're coming through town, we'll ask.
Yeah.
John Hyatt said yes. Then he had to cancel last minute just because, this is what it is, but they said yes.
I was surprised that Leland Sklar said yes.
Yeah, we went to London for that.
He's a bass player who's played on 3,000 albums over 40 years. He was James Taylor's first bass player.
He looks like Dumbledore. He's got that big long beard.
Is that a record? I mean, I'd be interested to know how.
I think
what
maybe.
Musician holds the title for playing on the most recorded pieces of music or records?
It's got to be up there.
Yeah.
I bet it was not the record though.
Yeah,
I would bet not.
I think what was kind of terrifying was sitting across Don Henley at the.
He's a formidable guy.
So he agreed to do it.
Yeah. So he started the. He was in Concord for the 350th birthday of Henry David Thoreau.
Of course, he was.
And so he was in there. He was there for for an event, and my family's involved with that organization, and we just asked if we could talk to him. We ended up talking to him. I'd met him a couple of times just through some of the events that they've had other than that. And so anyways, we ended up talking about Henry David Thoreau and environmentalism most of the for 20 of the 25 minutes we talked to him, and we talked for about 5 minutes about music. But he's a really smart guy, really passionate guy, and he's known to be a little ornery, but he was a gentleman and very nice to us, and so I'm still a big fan, which is good because
I'm still scared of him.
I'm a little frightened, but he's not my friend. So
I like him though.
It's Chuck and Ronnie, hosts of Above the Basement podcast. Music, is it Boston music in conversation? Is that the complete title?
That's the tagline.
That's the tag. Okay. Yeah. Let's play something from Carissa Johnson.
Great.
And we'll come back and we'll talk more about Don Henley.
Okay.
And whatever else.
Excellent. Love Carissa.
It's On the Town with Mikey D. I'm Anngelle. There, Chuck, Ronnie. Ruby Rose Fox from her Salt release. It's 91.5 WMFO. My name is Anngelle Wood. I host Boston Emissions. I'm hosting it tonight on the Town with Mikey D. I'm happy to say Mikey D entering its 31st year this year. Mikey D was an enormous music fan, someone that I had the privilege of knowing, going to shows, dancing to the Sheila Divine with. I am here with Chuck and Ronnie, hosts of Above the Basement podcast, online at abovethebasement.com.
Very good.
On all of the social haunts, as it were.
Everything but Snapchat. I don't know how to use that.
Huh?
I don't know how to use it.
If that's enough.
Yeah.
That's enough.
But yeah, we're on Twitter, which I don't use any either. I hate Twitter, but what are you going to do? And what else are we on? Instagram,
You're
Facebook.
on Instagram, Facebook.
But our website.
We're on the Facebook.
But we're on the
Books of Face.
Books of Face. We're on Facebook. So.
And you're on all the platforms like.
We are Radio Public,
podcasts,
iTunes, Stitcher, all that stuff. So you can find us if you just Google Boston Music Podcast, you'll find us. And so check us out. Subscribe. You can join our mailing list. There's pictures of Ron in various poses. On our
You've been
website.
doing some events and things, hosting some live events. You record.
We tried this out a year and a half, 2 years ago, called a concert cast, where we you see how they put those together, concert, and then there's podcast.
Did it become a chaos cast?
It did, actually, the first one.
Been there.
But we tried to get an artist to come up live and then talk with them, bring them over to a table like this, and then we would have a little mini podcast, and then we'd have them play like a set at the end. We did it at City Winery, Boston.
And then a Q&A with the audience too. So we did it with the biggest one we did it with Brent Shuttleworth.
Chris Trapper, who was from the Push Stars back in the day, and he's still traveling all the time. He's a great artist. And then we did A Far Cry, which is classical music. That was pretty interesting.
And Kabir Sen was the last one.
Oh, and Kabir Sen, of course.
Yes.
So you're not afraid to get fancy?
No, we'll get fancy. And we also did one recently with Gordon Eads. Gordon Eads is the Boston Red Sox official historian. He also used to be the beat writer for the Sox on the
They have
Globe.
a lot of official things, the Red Sox. They have like the official sausage of the Red Sox.
Yeah, they do.
Actually, we met the sausage guy.
This is the official radio program of the Boston Red Sox.
Ron's the official sausage of Above the Basement.
Thank you, Chuck. We met the sausage guy that is on Yawkey Way, and he was at Hot Stove Cool Music,
I like how
which
you guys
is a very
finish
cool.
each other's sentences. It's like you're married.
I know.
That's
About
why
3
Ryan
years of
interrupted.
marriage.
Yeah, we've told.
3 years of marriage, but we kind of courted for about 7 years before that.
Courted.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it's right here at Tufts, WFMO.
MFO.
Right? Oh, WMFO.
Yes.
Good job.
You mentioned 31 years, Mikey D's, right?
Yeah.
When did Guster start? 25 years ago, maybe, or maybe 30?
From here too, right? They got their
They started
here at Tufts University.
Ryan Miller and Dalton Sim is their manager, and we talked with him, and then talked with Ryan Miller up in Vermont, and that was pretty wild. A little tough shout out there.
Ryan Miller's he's a character. I like the man a lot. He's a very interesting guy. But we did a episode with Gordon Eads. He interviewed Doris Kearns Goodwin, who is a historian. She's a presidential historian, and they talked baseball. We also raised about $13,000-$14,000 for ALS for the Pete Frates Foundation. Pete with the Ice Bucket Challenge, and we're going to be doing another one in the fall with Razia, who started something called Razia's Ray of Hope, which she builds schools for girls in Afghanistan. She's a Bostonian.
Incredible.
And she's an amazing woman, and we're going to have a big event there. And so we'll put that in our socials.
I hope we're going to have some Afghani music.
Don't you feel lazy when you meet these kinds of people?
Yeah.
I'm building schools in Afghanistan. I'm like, I clean my bathroom today.
Something that you could get killed for, all the time. So she is an amazing woman. She was Time Person of the Year, one of the anyway.
Incredible.
So that's going to be in the fall, and a lot of more live stuff. We're going to try to start doing more concerts and more sponsorships that way, and so it's going to be an exciting year, I think. Yeah, definitely.
Cool.
And also we'll be doing the That's How We Met You. Well, one of the ways we met you was I was interested in doing a retrospective on the Rock and Roll Rumble.
Yeah.
And now it's really going to be
How's
a
that
retrospective
going?
because it was a couple months ago.
Yeah. Well, life things got in the way.
You
so
know that we're having a 40th anniversary party. So,
Really?
So
I
it's
was
not
not-
over.
I was not
it's
invited.
a year-long celebration.
Chuck, you got to
Are
come to
we-
the party
is
and
this
bring
our
your stickers.
invitation?
You're invited.
When is
You're
it?
cordially invited.
Where is it?
Saturday, April 3rd at the Sinclair.
April. Oh, next year.
I'm sorry, August 3rd.
Oh, okay. August
Thank
3rd
you.
at the
I
Sinclair.
don't know what's happening.
All right, sweet. Yeah, so we've got people lined up to talk to. We just haven't gotten around to talk. Well, I've talked to you.
Mm-hmm.
And
We actually tried to do that for a while too. Remember, like 2
it
years
took
ago.
a while. Yeah. But we always.
I had every intention to do it. It just
Of course.
Didn't
I knew.
happen.
We always
building
end
schools.
up getting our. That's
Yeah.
right. You were building schools
Very
and running
busy
from
building
Al
schools.
Qaeda.
Yes.
Right. I know. I understand.
And your bathroom was never clean at the time.
still not.
No.
But yeah, so we're excited about this year, and I think it's been a blessing to be able to do this kind of stuff. It's amazing. We just got to start making it.
Well, we started a podcast and thought about, what it was like, oh, let's talk to Boston musicians, let's talk to people outside of Boston and blah, blah, blah. But then we realized it was more than just about the music. And then that's kind of what we got excited about because the people had causes and people were interested in social issues or health or whatever.
Environment,
and
education,
we
science.
and who knew that, what was it? You met the drummer, you played with the drummer in that band, French Lick.
Wick Grausbeck, who owns the Boston Celtics. He's a drummer for a band called French Lick,
Yeah.
named for Larry Bird's hometown.
He's got a lot of,
And,
he's Perkins School of the Blind.
He's quite involved in that because his son
Board
is
member.
blind, and he's a board member there, and he's very involved in a lot of charities. He's a fantastic guy, and we just learn about all these different people who, like Alistair Mook, who wrote an album for kids with cancer. These musicians not only believe in their music, but they also believe in whatever causes they're doing, and that's what we've discovered.
Is that a prerequisite? They have
No.
to have some sort of other parallel world.
No, it certainly
No.
makes it more interesting. But usually it's a surprise.
But each of you
sometimes.
have parallel worlds outside of doing a podcast, right? What's your other life like?
Well, you have a more interesting life other than I do.
No, I have an interested life.
Oh,
Remember what
there- yeah.
Livingston Taylor told us?
Yes, I do.
We're not interesting, we're interested.
Just answer the question.
Stay curious, my friends.
Answer the question.
Yes. Yes, I work in the hospital. I'm a doc, and I'm very interested in music and how it can affect people's brains and help their recovery. So we're trying to do some research in that world. Chuck is a Merrill Lynch man, right, by trade.
Well, I used to work in finance, but as on operations, and I used to be an actor years ago. And,
What have I seen you in?
Nothing.
Law and
Gone
Order.
with the Wind?
His leg was
Were
in
you
Law
on
and Order.
SVU?
I was on Law and Order once.
His leg.
My leg.
Were
was,
you like the corpse? Were
No,
you
I
like
was.
the?
I was juror number 13. I think.
Oh, nice.
But I was. I did this thing called Abducted by Aliens. It was like this TV show about it, and they dressed me in a little Speedo. They painted me blue from head to toe, and they shot it in negative, so I looked kind of like glowing. And then they pretended to do surgery
I
on
hope
my
you get
chest.
residuals on that.
I think I got $50. I'm not sure. I have it on VHS somewhere.
Nice.
So obviously my acting career went nowhere, but I've always played music, and this was just something that I started this podcast with Ronnie, and I got laid off around the same time, so it was just kind of serendipitous.
You're like, well, I'm going to do this now.
Yes, that's what I'm going to do,
Good plan.
and it's fun. I get to meet and hang out with people like you. So it's great.
Who's going to be your next big get? Who are you hoping to get
Well, we
for
got
Above the Basement
we got
podcast?
that ukulele player. What's his name?
Oh, so next Wednesday the 19th, we're going to be in Lexington at Cary Hall. His name is, I'm going to botch it, sorry, Jake Shemakura-Burrow. Oh, that's so embarrassing.
Shemakaburo?
Yeah, he is he's one of the best ukulele players on the planet, and he's from Hawaii,
Wow.
and he's touring all around. And I'm very sorry, Jake, that I just mispronounced your name. I'm looking it up as we speak.
I know he's
but
listening.
that's next
Jake?
week. Yeah, he definitely is listening.
There's not a lot of hockey in Hawaii, so it's.
How are they doing, by the way? Does anybody know what the Bruins score is?
I don't think I want to look at it. I might
Let's
get too
just look
depressed.
at it after.
Yeah, we'll look at it after.
But who else is coming up, Chuck?
We've got Matt York this summer.
Mm-hmm.
We've got Mile 12, which is a Americana band. We've got a couple people from there coming. We're doing we did Blue Man Group a couple years ago.
You got them to talk?
We got them to talk.
No, we didn't.
They just threw marshmallows at you for an hour?
Well,
No, we got a blue man to talk without his blue makeup on, because that's a rule.
So technically, he's not a blue man.
Right. So when they're in costume, they have to be in character.
No, Chuck tried to tickle them. He tried to just
They're
make
very
them
method, right?
make them.
I didn't touch them. I did not touch them at all.
Yeah,
Actually,
but that was a really interesting conversation, though, I have to say. I was very interested in that conversation.
But we're going to do another one. They have the Blue Man Group Drum Off, where they have these.
Drum Off is a better name.
Drum Off, yeah. So they do it in front of some judges, and the winner gets like a $6,000 kit or something. It's pretty good. So we're going to do a episode at the Charles Playhouse.
Cool.
We're talking with some of the finalists, I guess.
All right.
Not with you, though. We're going to be talking with Jonathan Beakley. He's going to be my
That's right. That's right.
Shout out to Jonathan.
I'm going to be in... I don't know where I'm going to be.
I don't know where you're going to be.
I'm going to be in London, actually. Jake Shimabu...
It's in front of you. You can't even say it?
Shimabukuro.
Okay.
Shimabukuro?
I'll take your word for it.
He's
on
awesome.
the Town with Mikey D. It's WMFO 91.5 in Medford. Chuck and Ronnie, they host Above the Basement podcast. You can just search Above the Basement. You will find it, or Boston
Music Podcast,
Music
or
Podcast,
if you search
or
Above the
Boston
Basement.
Conversation, or
if you have an iPhone, just go to your purple app or whatever it is and type in Above the Basement.
It says podcast. It's a podcast app. Yeah.
and then there you have it. 139 episodes thus far.
Yes.
Very
That's
nice.
right.
And Anngelle is number
126,
Something.
7?
Maybe.
yeah.
Please stay. Please hang out.
Thank you.
Megan Tracy is going to join us in just a moment. And at 10:30, a live performance from Graveyard of the Atlantic.
Woo.
It sounds so very serious.
It's like to hear them both.
Let's hear some music from This Bliss. It's WMFO.